Hello, hello. This is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining. Thank you. Today, we're going to be speaking with Sreekanth Gopi about AI prompt engineering, the topic that everyone is seem to be knowing something about, and at the same time, we are as clueless as we were a couple years ago about the whole thing. Sreekanth, how are you?
Hello, Irene. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. And it's a pleasure to be here and speak to you and all audience about prompt engineering.
Absolutely. Pleasure is mine because your expertise and your fantastic background is just exactly what we need today. Guess what, right? Prompt engineering, it seemed to be everyone's talking about it, everyone's reading about it, writing about it. Could you please shed some light, from professional experience and an expert as yourself? What are we talking about when we're mentioning prompt engineering?
Right. So it is a prompt engineering. First of all, let's go into the definition. It is a way we communicate with the large language model, which is nothing but what you call ChatGPT. So it's a large language model, means it has got the information about almost everything in the world up to a certain date, and then it has got now the capacity to search the web and get an up to date information also. So it is like a large reservoir of entire knowledge, and it can process information, and it can even give you some outputs in a certain kind of format that you like, right? So whatever you like to know in the world right now, it is accessible through this one single chat interface, right? What you call chat gpt or cloud or Gemini, Google Gemini, or any of the large language model, or even free open source large language models. So it's basically a way to communicate. Just like I'm communicating with you, there's a certain way we communicate. There's a certain method, and there's a certain kind of language. It's different from communicating with you. It's different from communicating with my wife, and that is different from how I communicate with my children, right? We change our language differently to each of the person or audience. The same like that machine has a certain way of communication. How we do that is the science of prompt engineering. Yeah.
Sounds very simple, okay? Sound it is. But to be data scientist as yourself, okay, you please help us with further core definitions, okay? What does it mean designing and optimizing input? Okay, that seems those words are very smart, but guess what, right? Not everyone exactly know how to design and optimize input to guide AI responses.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And that's a great question. How to do, like, basically how do you prompt, right? That's what you ask. So let's take an example, a simple example where I'm trying to teach my child. Okay, I'm trying to teach her mathematics, okay, and linear algebra, for example, or calculus, whatever. So, so what we do is, one is that you can ask like an open question, right? Like just like that, like how do you do some calculation in calculus, something like that, right? Or you can have a question with the question, but just the question, just how it appears in the exam. If you put, the GPT can answer it back, right, and give you some solutions. So that is like one of the basic ways. So we cannot say it's prompt engineering; it is prompting. Hmm? So prompt engineering itself is going much deeper than that. That is, there are certain stages and steps that we go through. So we can go into how OpenAI themselves have given some instructions on how we should prompt, and we're going to share a link with you later on that video where you can watch details later. But right now we can go into certain screenshots on how what they're showing. Why OpenAI? Because they are the leaders in this field as of now, and it's very clearly given also, right? So I would say that as you listen to this, you can think about your use case, so at least one simple example, and we're going to show you some examples that we thought of. But if you think about your use case, it'll be more relatable.
Sure, sure. So, thinking of how to approach, right? How to really think and structure our mind first, okay? Because all I know, communicating with machine takes communicating with our own intent first,
What
okay?
you mentioned is very important point also, the communication. Just like how we are communicating with human beings, right? How we form sentences and certain form certain language, you have to have all those skills here: communication skills, the clarity, intention, and structure, sentence structure, and everything. But the large language model can take in like spelling mistakes or part of the sentences. Is very intelligent to understand even with partial sentences, even with one word. Sometimes it can understand so much, right? So all our communication skills apply here. Having said that, we have communication skills, then what do we do? Right. So I have applied in my personal experience. I've applied my English skills, my mathematical skills, my research skills, right? All of these skills apply because it's all a way of communicating with the large language model or machine. Yeah. So communication skills.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. So, what is the three-part formula?
Yes. Okay. So first step, like you can see, this is OpenAI's instruction. Okay, on their website. So first step is context. That is the material to be worked on. What is the context? So for example, we spoke about calculus, right? So we have to describe the chapter, and we have to say what examples we have in that, like what are the theories we are going to apply, and then so we say that in this context, please give this, right? That is one way. Second way is we supply certain documents, so we can upload now certain documents like PDF, Word format, or anything, or even images. We can upload and say that from this image, please. Many times that's what I do when I have some doubt. To when I teach my children, I just take a picture and upload it, and I say, please explain this. So I have given a context, which is the whole textbook image, and also some theoretical backgrounds I supply. So if you supply enough context, it's going to be more pertaining to your use case, right? So that is context. Means we can have small context to very large context also, right? So the different models have different input context sizes, which we can discuss later. Okay. So role is like, what is the role of that model, right? It can take any role. In life we have given roles. For example, my child is my child, my wife is my wife, right? And my father, I given a role, so you're my father, right? Similar, then once we define the role, it's very easy to communicate, right? Without the role, we don't know how to communicate. So large language model also is very similar to human being, where you define a role and then it can play that role. Okay. So mathematical expert, mathematical professor, school 7th grade teacher, something like that, right? Whatever you want, you can give. So that is like very important. You are an expert in this, something like that. The third step is expectation, right? So we given a role, we given the context, and we given the prompt, which is the question. And now what is expected, right? So that also we can give. If we have these three basic things, then the output of the large language model is going to be more precise and customized for your use case.
We do use documents now. We all become kind of sophisticated users of generative AI for sure. But thank you for spelling it out, and thank you for helping to structure the thinking, because people forget about role very often.
Yes.
Okay. Because yeah, if we want to summarize document, right, and you know what you want, because expectation is kind of clear, right?
Yes.
But I would imagine, right, that role, and this is a great point that you brought up. So thank you for this, because exactly when we're asking, when we're communicating
Yes.
with model, we wanna tell the model exactly, right? Are we here as a business user? Are we here, as you said, as an educator, or we're here as a student? Okay, and that's how we're gonna get better result, right? The more
Yes.
work we put in upfront, right?
Yes, no, you gave a very good point. You have to give the role of you also, like of the large language model, what is going to play, and of yourself. Are you a school like 7th grade student, 8th grade student, college student? If so, what is your speciality? Like that, if you define more, it is better. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's move on then.
Yes. So this much information, if you have, you can go about anything in your real life. Like you want to ask large language model, you supply the right information, you attach certain kind of documents, and you instruct it with certain kind of context, and you give some expectations from what is expected. So if you follow these 3-4 steps, you can get like good answers, right? So prompt engineering itself is a little bit more detailed than this, because what we spoke today can be about 4 or 5 lines or maybe 10 lines, right? When we write prompt in real life in enterprise, right, we have thousands of words coming into one single prompt, right? And it's so complex that to handle it is complex. It'll go beyond our understanding, but the basic structure itself will remain what we are seeing. If we have to go deeper into prompt engineering, we have to go into certain details. So this is only if you want to get something really specific and clear output, which you can use it for your work or for yourself, but it is more deeper than just asking for some question and answer, right? So here, when we want a specific way of getting output from the large language model, we can follow these steps. Basically, this is structure of the prompt. This is like the whole prompt divided into 5 steps. Hmm? So first is adopt a persona, means we say we clarify the role like we discussed before. Second is delimiter. Delimiter means we use certain kind of punctuations to clarify certain segments within the prompt, right? So for example, triple quotes, some hashes, like that we put to clarify, like starting of certain sections and ending of certain sections, like that, right? And then third one is step by step instructions. We don't have the full slides here, which you can watch the video later on, but I can explain what it could be. Step by step instruction is nothing but we give like 1 2 3 4 5. We give like first you do this, second you do this, third you do this, fourth you do this, right? Like that we can say. And we can also tell that please think step by step. This is also instructed by OpenAI to give the large language model instruction to think step by step. Then it's not going to jump into conclusion. Sometimes you will see that if even if you give like a whole text, it responds immediately with something which you asked in the beginning, for example, right? So it doesn't read through it step by step. So we say that please read through it step by step or execute step by step, like that we can say. We can also give opposite commands like please do not jump into conclusion, we can say, right? Normally we tend to avoid negative commands, right? Just like when you bring up a child, right, we avoid telling don't and no's, right? That's what the parenting teachers tell us. So same way, large language model also, it's better to avoid do's. You can say do's, but not the don'ts. But there are some cases where we have to specify because that's the way the model has been trained. Then we can say like do not do this, like, okay. So like that. Then the fourth step is one or few shot learning. So few shot means we're giving a few examples. Hmm? So the model always performs better if we give certain kind of examples, and we can give how many we want. The more we give, the better it is. But it has to be very clear, and we have to give it a lot of thought. Means we cannot really say like give, for example, take a whole collection from a textbook and put and say these are examples. We have to really work on it and select one by one, and we develop it. In prompt engineering, when we do, we go step by step ourselves, prompt engineers, where give few short, which is nothing but example. Then we have a relevant query, and then we say okay, for this query what is the answer, right? And then the response will come, right? And then we again change that example if we are not getting the response. So there is a lot of development methods which is out of scope here. But what I'm saying is this: there is a lot of thought given into these steps, right? So be very diligent in selection of the examples, even though it looks simple. And then fourth step is we asking the ChatGPT, like asking, giving the instructions. So generally we give an instruction in the beginning, like a high level overview, right? And then at the end we again give instruction. And the model always give highest priority for the last instruction you give, right? And if there's conflict, generally it will supersede with the last instruction. Hmm? So there's advantage because many times when you start, that's not what you want at the end, right? The disadvantage is if your prompt is not clear and it has conflict, it's a problem, and it will supersede whatever is there at the bottom, right? So is there any question still there till here?
Sure. Could you walk us through this example? Yeah, just something tangible. This is great framework, very helpful steps to think about, right? So
Mm.
could you give us, I don't know, maybe everyday example, right? How to apply this methodology to simple, hopefully, simple prompt.
Okay, so what one of the things, let's say I bought an IKEA shelf yesterday, right? So what we did is, because as a prompt engineer I always ask ChatGPT or some other language model on the instructions, because it's a little bit technical. I didn't call anyone from outside, so I called my daughter and I said, told her to, okay, let's learn how from the ChatGPT. And then we just took pictures and attached it to the ChatGPT prompt, right? And then we said, please explain as a novice carpenter, because we had never done this work before, and it's huge, like much taller than me. It's like big one, and I had never done it. And please explain. And I wanted my daughter to do it. So what she did, she went and she asked for explaining, and then we even asked for some more examples and simple instructions, and with some diagrams. ChatGPT can also give diagrams. It has got the ability to draw diagrams also, right? So there are certain keywords we use in prompting. We say like this way you do it, and it came up with certain kind of diagrams and process. And then it says like, okay, first lay the plank down, then keep the plank on the left, on the right, and now put the screw here, put the clamps here, like that. It gives very clear instructions on that, right? So we gave some in that. We didn't do the few shot because it's not a work enterprise use case. But if we give few shot also, it'll be more
Because
precise.
as you mentioned, right, we load tons of images, we can load video, we can ask things that we never thought before, right? So
Yeah.
question is how to really communicate, as you mentioned, in a
Yes.
way that all this complex load of information, right, all this context that we give, right, and that we use it in smarter way. Otherwise, model gets confused, we get confused, we get the results we don't want, and we just get frustrated
Yes.
altogether.
True, true. See, multimodal means more than text. So we have like audio, images, and video. These are the three main examples, and the PDFs or whatever documents you have, right? So generally in prompt engineering, we don't put those into the prompt as such, but we have certain kind of vector store we store and we retrieve. But I think that is too much for this particular topic here, right? But I can say that in ChatGPT itself, what we can do is, if we have audio, we can attach the audio and say transcribe, right? Or if I have a picture, right, I can attach it and say transcribe. So if we just say the word transcribe fully, then it can just give you the. So let's say you get a newspaper in the morning, right? Take a picture of the whole newspaper because it takes too much time. Just put it into it and say transcribe, and it'll just write the whole thing. We say always transcribe because model tend to read just beginning and end and ignore many details, right? So if we say transcribe it all as it is, then it'll transcribe it all as it is, right? You get like the whole thing. Then we have the text there, and then we ask questions like, what is today's news about? It'll give you certain kind of instructions, or sorry, the response with the news. But it'll give sometimes very long, right? It goes on explaining like maybe 1,000 words response. So we specify, please give it in 100 words, 10 words, like that. And please give it for me. Who am I? Let's say I'm a college freshman. So I say, for the college freshman who is studying literature, please read it to me. Something like that, right? You are a news reader, like that. You define the role and then you ask. Then we can chat. So that is chatting with the document. So second is image. We can transcribe image, and we can chat with the image. Third is video, right? Video transcription right now, I'm not sure if it is there in the how do you say, the interface. But normally what we do is we go use a certain tool to give the YouTube link, and then we get the transcription text and we give it to the chat GPT or any large language model, right? So that is one of the ways to do. So we use an external tool, but there are tools within ChatGPT itself which we can go into. So for example, if you go into custom GPTs in within, sorry, I'm speaking about ChatGPT because that's most famous, right?
Yes, exactly.
Same
Yeah,
thing
yeah, yeah.
applies to Google Gemini or Cloud or DeepSeek or whichever you want to go to, right? So there are some things about chat custom GPT in which you click, you can search for specific function GPTs, right? For example, lawyer GPT, immigration lawyer GPT, crime lawyer GPT, or traffic specialist, something like that, or coder specialist, Python specialist, something like that. You always search for it, and you will find somebody has done the programming already, means prompting. Hmm? So we can create our own GPT through custom GPT. So that is, you click a button in the chat GPT window if you subscribe to it, and then it'll give you an interface where you can give instructions and attach documents. So let's say you have like 20 textbooks in your, let's say you're eighth grader and you have 20 textbooks of the whole grade and you want to revise it, right? So you have but you have to take the pictures of them, right? And take the pictures of all of it, document, and then upload it to the custom GPT and say that this is eighth grader math GPT. You give it a name, so then it'll name itself, and it'll have all the documents, and it'll say what it needs to be done. Maintain the structure we followed, where we give the context, which is nothing but all the textbooks and enough content, whatever you wanted to read it, and then we give instructions. So what will happen is it will answer only from your text, right? Let's say if we say temperature is equal to zero, temperature means it won't start using its own knowledge, or it won't hallucinate, right? 90% of the problems in large language model happens through hallucination. All what we discuss is to reduce hallucinate, means you should not imagine. There are cases where it has imagined papers, right? And I know a case where one of my professors got a call, and they said, I need this paper from you because we want to use it for our research and we want to like go deeper into it. She asked, which one is it, which paper? They gave the title of the paper. She said, I had never written it. I don't know about this paper. Oh, ChatGPT said that that this is about your. But so it can just hallucinate, right? So how do we reduce hallucination? Is any one of us can go and do this, right? Let's say you have gone to a doctor and you have a certain kind of medical thing, assuming that it can be shared, right? Assuming that it can be shared, we can actually upload the past documents, past medical records, right? Some scanning reports, some prescriptions. You can remove all the identifications from the pictures so that it doesn't go into like public. Normally it doesn't get leaked, okay, because there is a way inside ChatGPT or any models. We can always select do not share my data, go to settings and share do not share my data. You all know that. So it won't share data with the public, right? And then we submit that, and then we say you are my doctor, so please advise to me based on my history. You will see that the whole history, whatever you provide, years of records, right? It can refer, and when you evoke this chat GPT, custom GPT, in the name, it will appear in your GPT list. It'll just continuously chat. Means always it'll become your doctor and chat with you, and you can keep updating it also. So you can
No,
say
this,
custom
yeah. Yeah, no, this is helpful and fantastic. And I know some of us already played in that role. And this is like great reminder that, hey, we have to take care of our data privacy ourselves. Okay. Don't rely, on a model. Take care of your side. Okay. And then please use the tool, right? With wonderful new capabilities, but still, right? Controls are in us, hopefully, to some degree still, but we have to be very, very mindful. So
Yeah,
thank you for this. Now let's go a little bit serious about it, okay? Enterprise prompting, all right?
good.
Because there is a lot of technical and non-technical people, all right, who
Yeah,
work at large organizations, okay? They have their own frameworks, they have teams established, right? And
yeah,
yet, what I'm seeing, in my LinkedIn and my with my colleagues and peers is that people still not certain. We're all learning, okay? We're all learning. So what's the right way? This is for leaders now, this is for everyone out there, to
yeah.
what's the right way to think about prompt engineering at the enterprise.
That's very good question. It's a separate topic. I think we would need an entire episode for it. Okay.
I'm sure I'm happy to have you back if you have time, but just to give us some pointers,
Yeah.
some
So
vectors right now.
in my experience, what I've seen is,
Hmm.
people, because when we see prompts, we will think it's simple and we will say, I can do that, and they start doing it. We have seen it, yeah, many times. What I've seen is the prompt engineers, they lack creativity. So this is the first thing. As a if you ever want to use prompt inside your work, whether you're prompt engineer or anything, nowadays, or everyone is asked to use the large language model in some way. The companies give instructions. There are companies, they give instructions to use the large language model so that they can become more productive, and they give like copilot or something which on the side they have like confidential channel for your company, right? And I've seen like people from major companies, they are asking and they don't know. They come to me and ask me like how to use this and all this. Like you're saying, it's very simple to use because it's just sending information and getting back. But it's complex when we have a certain kind of expectation, because in enterprise you need a high accuracy, right? High how do expectations, structured expectations, and there is monitoring involved, and they need to get something that they want to get in a certain kind of format precisely, right? All this is there. Now accuracy, I've seen that first thing, if we don't have creativity, it does not work and it goes inaccurate, right? Creativity. So how creativity comes in here? Because each prompt, I consider it as a song. Because I'm a music composer, so I see that I take it as a song, and in song also same thing happens. We follow certain procedure to compose, and each prompt is composed differently. If you see my prompts, it's like thousands of words, but each one is totally different, right, from each other. It follows the same structure. It has a system prompt, it has a role, it has got certain kind of in a top level instructions, and then it will have certain kind of structured step by step instructions, going deeper, few short examples, and all of this output formatting. So many things will be there, right? But inside that there is some creativity involved, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is logical sequencing of the prompt and ability to go and debug the prompt, because we have seen that if the prompt is not structured well, we cannot really debug it, right? Debug means what? If we have in enterprises, we have like thousands of different use cases, different questions where we're expecting responses, and we have seen it producing 60% of the time accurate answers. 40% of the time it is not producing correct answers, or 30 70, right? Best is 70 I've seen, or 80. From 80, if you want to get to 90 to 100, then comes prompt engineering. Up to 70-80% anyone can get. They just put some text and they'll give some text. You keep on giving instructions, it'll keep on giving you some outputs. But that is not prompt engineering. It is also about neat tidiness. Means the prompt has to be very, how you write an article, like in a journal. Suppose you're writing, right? It has to be clear and neat, and so it has to follow a certain format, and it has to be structured. It should not have conflicts, right? And it should not have noise, right? So all of this, I've seen like people contaminate the prompt with unnecessary information. Hmm. All of this is important, and then comes after debugging, and then comes accuracy. So all, or in my experience, all the prompts that I have been using, it goes into very high accuracy, because I follow engineering principles given by OpenAI and Gemini and so on.
Beautiful. I know we're just scratching the surface. Okay, so we're gonna point our audience to hopefully good resources. Okay, where they can start being a little bit dangerous. Okay, to themselves and others, and hopefully more productive. Okay, so if you could share, some good tools that maybe you tried and you would recommend at some point, that would be wonderful. So moving on, Sreekanth, thank you again. Thank you. I so appreciate your time today. This is, if anything, it's useful and inspiring, because I have a few thoughts already, how I can improve my communicating, with the model, and I'm sure our audience will too. So let me ask you this: have you seen applications that using, let's say, yeah, for simplicity, ChatGPT or any other model, right? That using in transactional way, meaning that I hear that timing is still not there yet, meaning it takes a long time to get this precise, accurate response. So have you seen the applications that already incorporating the prompting into something that's, mission critical at the enterprises?
A very good question. See, right now we have tools which can do this work for us. That is, it can create application for us using GPT. Chat GPT is an interface. GPT is the model. So we
Mhm.
have GPT-4, GPT 4.1 now, 4.5, and there are reasoning models, GPT o1, o3, which are like reasoning models, just like DeepSeek R1 and Gemini 2.5 Pro. Like that, there are different kinds of models with different abilities, right? And when we have certain kind of development skill, we can actually code it to create an application. But now there are tools where you can prompt it to create an application. So that is like, prompt engineering, you can create an application, simple one, right? So is that your question? Sorry, is that your
Yes,
question?
yes, that's it. And when it becomes part of application, because I hear the model's not fast enough, okay? Because when you do a couple of queries a day, it's fine, but it's part of it's with high volume transactional application. That's
Yes.
where I hear limitation is right now.
Yes, this is a very good question. Latency is a very big issue. And whenever we work in enterprise level, everybody wants really fast response, right? Now, I have, in my personal experience itself, I have seen prompts that produce delayed response, high latency, just because the prompt is structured in a certain way. So I've like worked on it like in a couple of hours. We work on a little bit and then it reduces, right? So if we follow the structure we are saying, then it'll
Mhm.
be faster. That is one thing. Second thing is we have to see why the model is slow, responding slow, right? I would say that 3 to 6 seconds is the correct best time of response. 6 seconds is okay. 2 second is very good. 1 second is very less, right? But 2 seconds, beyond 6 seconds for one response is too much generally, right? But we are talking about sending tons of information, that is like I don't know, megabytes of information in the context, not like what we speak. We send maybe like, I don't know, maybe 100,000 words of context or 200,000 words. In one of my projects recently that I completed, we sent 1 million words in one context, right? 1 million words. So the model will refer 1 million words at a time and then respond. But we have seen that the response comes within 20 seconds when we
Mhm.
do certain kind of prompt engineering. How we do that, next episode.
That's next episode. Fantastic. So the answer is yes, okay. The quality of input, okay. We used to say garbage in, garbage out in the database times, right?
Yes.
So absolutely, the principle still applies, right? The more thoughtful, the more creative, the more skillful you are,
Mm.
right, in
Yeah.
submitting the prompt. I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth. It's just something that I've learned and something that, yeah, you shared with us today, Shrikant. Thank you very much. Time is flying. This
Yeah.
is incredible. I so want to welcome you back, with some deeper look into some of the topics we just scratched on. Okay. In
Sure.
conclusion, would you leave our audience with takeaways? Okay, we went very high level, right? How to think about prompt engineering, what does it mean, and how to really get productive and skillful at the enterprise.
Yes. So I would say that improve communication skills within your relatives and your colleagues and friends, right? Because many times when we communicate something to a parent or a spouse, especially, she will think in a totally different way and she'll misunderstand and become a big conflict, right? So we are having a communication problem. We blame that person, saying that it's all because she thought like that, right? But if we take responsibility and if we see what is in me that caused that miscommunication and improve it and practically apply it in life and see the response back differently, then you're getting better in prompt engineering.
Wow. Wow, this is so many levels of wisdom, Shrikant. Absolutely. Good start, right? Getting our, thoughts in our head first together, right? And then going out and talking to people, machines, or to ourselves even sometimes, right? We do that. Thank you so very much for your time. You're so welcome to join us back here
Yeah.
whenever you feel like it. Appreciate it
Yeah,
very much, Shrikant.
sure,
Thank you.
sure, Irene. Yeah. Thank you so much, Irene. Thank you for the time and thank you for the opportunity and open to more questions and sessions. Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you.